All right, so what I'm going to do first is get the slab out to make a bottle. So I've already rolled it out, I've got it set, and there's two ways I can go about this. I can either make it a longer, skinnier bottle or a shorter, fatter bottle, because I have a rectangle, right? And I've cut this mostly straight, and I'm just going to leave it on here for now and kind of check what I want to do. So I have a form that I can use, like just a hard piece of cardboard tube. Like that would roll. I could make this tall and skinny, or I could get a bigger one and go this way and make it shorter and fatter. So I don't know. Whichever one I do, I have to wrap this in paper. Let's go with the shorter, fatter one. All right, so I'm gonna wrap this tube. This is the straighter bottom, right? If I don't do this, the clay's gonna stick to the form, and then I have to cut it and get it out. Okay. So I'm gonna line this one up with the bottom. I'm gonna pull up a little bit with my plastic. If it doesn't fit, we'll go with the skinny one, but I think it should. That's really close. Yeah, we can make that fit. Get rid of that. So this, for me, like making bottles this way, it's just an easy way to get the wall together. And I'm gonna loosen it up and do some things to it. But, you know, because a bottle, like at this time in history isn't, you know, a clay bottle is not as functional as it used to be. So it can be more of an artistic thing. You know what, I'm gonna stretch this out one more time, make it work. So really all I have to do is just 1, 2, and then roll it again. I want the paper to be tight on here, but not really wrinkled. And you can tape it if you want. I mean, even if you don't have a form to use, you can let your slab get stiffer, and you can shape it in however you want to do it. You don't have to use a form. This is just a real quick way for me to get to where I need to be. Yeah, that'll work. All right, so now I get more overlap here and here. So if I keep that tight, and I can cut this at an angle and make that overlap show up less, but since I don't have that much, I'm just gonna roll it on there so it'll get a little thinner. I can cut a little bit away, but I need to score and slip first. So obviously, if you don't have a rib that scores, you can use a fork to do this. But since I have one, I'm just going to use it. Score both sides. Like I said before, I prefer working with slabs instead of coils, because if feel like I can control the form better. I can get the shape that I'm looking for. So I'm just going to put a little pressure on that seam with my fingers. Start to push some of that clay down. By not cutting it, I've left this part is like, the seam is going to be doubly thick. So I'm going to take a roller or something and get it smaller. But to do that, I want to go ahead and push some of that clay so I'm not doing too much with a roller. And I mean, obviously, any bottle you can make any bottle form. You just have to decide on how you're going to do it and shape it the way you know, make the parts that fit. You know, it's just like the mugs. If anything that you want to do is there to do it. You just got to figure out a way or ask me. So I'm going to take my card here and just sort of pull some of that clay up. Push down that seam some so it's getting thinner. So this part's going to start to match up with the rest of it, because you don't want one side that's going to be super thick. You can use, if you have like some kind of stick like this, you can use it, or a rolling pin, and you can roll it on that seam. That'll work. I have a roller that I can use. Like, I use this a lot when I'm connecting seams. Okay, that's pretty good. All right, so that should stay on it. That seam's going to be pretty solid, because when I close this up, I'm not going to be able to get inside there and do anything to that seam on the inside. I'm going to eventually close the whole thing up. But I'm going to leave that like that. Take my card one more time. I can make that little line disappear. I don't know if you can see the little line from the angle, but just take this card and keep working it until it goes away. Or if you want to keep it, that's fine too. It's part of your design. So now I have a pretty good cylinder. Now I need a base. So I'm going to set this aside. Get another slab that I rolled out. Get some paper. All right, so now I'm going to use as little of this as I can. So I'm going to move it over to the edge, because I'm going to need more for the other part. So I want to work from the edge. If you just stick it right in the center, then you cut a big hole and you can't really use this or that. So think about where you're cutting things out. Now, whatever it is you're drawing on clay with, you can just trace this bottom. One thing, if you do have a form inside your clay cylinder, you definitely don't want to push that form down, especially when it's sitting on top here. If you push down on this form, it's going to cut out the bottom, and not in a good way. Okay. See how that moves? All right. So I'm going to cut probably a little bit outside of my circle. I like a little bit of clay to be left over, because I'm going to pull that clay up onto the wall to help hold that base in place. All right, so now I want to score the base. Now I'm going to score the bottom of this, so I can push the form up a little bit, make it easier. Slip it. Put it back in place. All right. So now I'm taking my hands on the clay and not pushing that form around. I'm just sort of pushing the cylinder down a little bit, just so it kind of sits down on that clay base that I just put on. I think this is going to be easier if I move it off the paper. That's just for me, right? Because I have a table I can work on, but definitely work on the paper. I just need to, so you can see it better. I'm going to do it this way. So I get the most flexible rib that you have. If this, even this card, like I can bend that card in the shape of that. I'm going to start moving some of this clay from the base up a little. Around. Anytime you pick the pots up or move them around, like really be careful like how you grab it, how you move it around. Well, this is just kind of a rough version of it right now. A little bit of water on the rib helps to smooth it out better. So my plan is to cut some of this base away, so it's okay that it sticks out a little more. It's not like just a straight cylinder down, because this is part of my design. Like, this is what I want to do. I want it to be, so when I make these, mostly not the thicker ones, but when I make thinner bottles, like taller, skinnier ones, I kind of think about trees when I'm doing it. So I want them to look more tree-like. Because really, like I said, the bottle is not, doesn't have to be super functional anymore, because it's more of an art thing. I mean, you can still use them, obviously, but. Okay. So that's got the bottom seam now connected, and my seam down the center. So this cylinder is together, right? I'm gonna take it and roll it around a little bit and just get some good marks on it. So I'm gonna use the corner of this and just kind of roll it like that. I'm gonna roll one across the bottom. I don't want them to be straight. I want them to kind of overlap and be loose, okay? So we'll keep it like that. All right, so now I can take this out because the slab should be stiff enough. Take the form out first, all right? So get rid of it. And now I can take the paper out. That's why I don't like having the paper attached to that form, because it doesn't come out, right? If you try to pull the form out, the paper sticks, so you want to do it separately. All right, so now I have a pretty good cylinder, but my top is a little bit crooked, so I'm gonna have to trim that off. I'm just gonna eyeball it and just, this is my low end, this is my high end. So if I look at the low end, I can, if I don't get it all at once, it's fine. It's a little closer. So this side's pretty good. Just gonna trim. It's better to cut a little bit and do it more than once than to cut too much. That's definitely better. And I'm okay with this being a little loose. I can move that around. So I'm gonna cap it anyway, right? So move this a little further away. I think you see better this way. Maybe I can angle this. All right. So now I want to close this form up. All right. So I'm going to completely close it, trap air in there, because now there's no form in there, and this clay is still pretty soft, so it can move around really easily, and I could lose the form. But if I cap it and trap that air in there, the air will help hold it in place. Though when I'm doing other things to it, it won't move around as much. I'm going to get this slab back. I don't need this, so. Okay, I'm going to stretch it a little more. It's okay if this one's thin. So you can cap them off and leave that flat if you want, right? That's again, it's a design choice, right? I might want mine a little more curved, so I can push it around. I can push this, and the air's gonna push this up, or I can go ahead and start to move this up. So it has more of a dome shape. You can also take a can like this, drop some paper over it, flip this over, and sort of push that down until you get the dome you want. Take a little rib, smooth it out, but that's a little small for what I want to do. You could also do it in the pot. So I want to go ahead and bend it a little bit like this. I'm going to cut some of the stuff that I don't need away. I'm not trying to be neat yet, right? I'm rough cutting, right? So I'm just chopping things off that I know I don't need. You could take that and you can also put some texture on that if you wanted to. That's getting better. So I'm going to push it just a little bit because I need to get an idea of where I'm going to score and slip it. I'm not sticking it down onto here, I'm just giving it some pressure so I have a line that I can score. So now I kind of have an idea of where I need to score it. But really, I mean, if the whole bottom is going to be covered up, like I can just score this like that. Do it the fast way. Score this. Slip. So now I'm going to get rid of some of this clay. So I'm just going to trim in close to my edge. And kind of like the base, I'm intentionally leaving a little clay out here on the edge because I'm going to roll it around a little bit and let it be loose because it'll create a different kind of design on it. But it's all about choice, you know? Now I can take this and just remove some of this clay down this way. Now it's kind of working both ways on this. Again, leaving some of the seams, not at this point I'm not really worried about it.